shocking first season, we have to say. People who love Agent Mike, people who love to hate Emma. What can we expect for season 2?
I have no idea.
We were talking about it earlier. The first season was almost like, for me, it was like reading a book. It was every week we would get the chapter that we were going to be filming.
Yeah.
And season 2 is no exception. I mean, I think what you can expect are the twists and turns, the ups and downs that, you know, happened in the first season. But, you know, I think we are yet to discover what our fates will be in season 2.
Questions?
You guys are now 1 degree from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's he like to work with? I mean, this is a very different pace than what he's used to doing. What's he like to work with, and how is he adjusting?
Well, Shawn works with him a lot more often than I do. I kind of avoid working with him for my own survival on the show. But he's great. I mean, as a nemesis, we have a great time needling each other and pushing each other's buttons.
Yeah, I mean, I love working with Kevin. What's interesting is that, you know, Kevin Bacon is a movie star. That's how we recognize him. And I think he brings that presence and that talent to the show. And so for me, working with him is amazing. He's the kind of actor that makes you raise your game. When you're working with Kevin, you know it. And, you know, you don't want to be the one in the scene to drop the ball. So I think it's a nice gift to have such a talented actor to work with every day. And honestly, he's a great guy. So I really love it. And I think he's doing great work on the show.
Joe Carroll quickly became like one of the best villains on TV. Can this show exist without Joe Carroll?
Well, you know, he's created quite the infrastructure of backup, so I think that Kevin Williamson's created a world where there are plenty of people who would be more than willing to step up and fill his shoes. You know, personally, I think that it would be a much less interesting world without him, without his charisma, but we'll see. I mean, the season finale really left it open in terms of where the cult will go and where Kevin Bacon will go in terms of who he's following.
Is there any part of you that's secretly hoping you're the main bad guy?
I think Mike Weston is the main bad guy. I don't know. I mean, Emma's whole character is really defined by who she follows and who she believes in and who she loves. She's never really been on her own, so I'm not sure how well she would function as the Kingpin.
As Canada's #1 new show, is it nerve-wracking going to the second season trying to maintain that status?
I think it's more exciting. I mean, when I first heard about this show, I knew it was Kevin Williamson, I knew it was Kevin Bacon and James Purefoy. I think I was more nervous about season 1 because of that pedigree, the people involved. I knew that the kind of product that we needed to create and put out there would have to be very high caliber. So it was exciting to know that an audience sort of got behind our story and our characters. So for me, season 2, I'm just excited. I mean, now the world is established. We sort of have a foothold on who these characters are, and I feel like the sky's the limit. We can just run with it now. So I'm really excited to get back at it.
Thank you.
Hi there. There have been some rumblings about how the women are written on the show, but Emma's a little bit different. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm grateful because I feel like I get to play one of the most interesting, strongest young female characters that's on television right now. She's incredibly complex, dark, but vulnerable. I play something different from one scene to the next. And, you know, she is very different from the other female characters on the show, but I think that all of the women on The Following are strong characters. You know, Emma has great respect for Claire because of her strength throughout all of this chaos, and Parker is one of the most brilliant agents on the show who kind of always keeps things grounded and keeps things moving. You know,
Well, she did.
Well, she did. She did. So I think Kevin Williamson has written some really beautifully strong female characters.
And then, kind of tied to that, what's it like, Valorie, playing a character that's gotten so much reaction from the fans?
I take it as a compliment that people are so invested and so affected by her that they seem pretty horrified when they see me on the street. You know, it's just a testament to Kevin's writing and hopefully to my portrayal of her. But you know, I look at her differently, I think, than most people do. I don't see her as this villain, as this monster. I really see her as probably one of Joe Carroll's greatest victims. So I have a lot of sympathy for her.
Now, is it true that you you guys shot multiple season finale scenes?
No, I don't think there's multiple versions, but they did keep some of the details very, very hidden. For example, when I finally saw the finale, it wasn't the ending that I was... I had an idea of what was going to happen, but I didn't fully know all the details. So that was my knowledge. I don't know if they shot different versions, but...
I'm not sure if they shot different versions or if they edited different versions. Luckily, we sort of had no part of that circus.
I was safe at the FBI headquarters.
Right. And I was somewhere with a wig. But yeah, we had no secrets to reveal.
Okay, Shawn, so saying that, what did you envision as what you thought the finale might be?
You mean, what's my interpretation?
Yeah.
I think it's very open, to be honest. Obviously, there's a possibility that Joe Carroll is dead. There's also the possibility that Ryan and Claire are dead. But again, those are possibilities. I think that's the cliffhanger nature to the season finale, and I think what people can expect for season 2 is the unexpected, which I think is what's exciting. That's why I want to get back at it. I want to start being delivered scripts because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure where we go. I don't know where we pick up from. So I'm excited to get back at it. But I think, again, I don't know. The possibilities are all there. Dead, alive, who knows?
Right, but when you said that when you saw it, it was different from what you...
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I had heard rumors of the final scene of the massacre in Ryan's apartment. And so I'd heard about that. I'd heard that was an idea floating around, but in the script that was being given to people, that scene was not included.
Thanks.
Two-part question. You guys have to wade through a lot of grody stuff. Has anything like really grossed you out? And for Shawn, how are you wrapping your mouth around criminology?
That's a new skill for me, actually. The technobabble, as we call it sometimes. It's practice. It's a muscle that you sort of learn. I think the first scene in the pilot I had a really hard time was when I was presenting the case, and Ryan Hardy comes walking in, and I had the hardest time delivering that scene. It was just tough for me. But you sort of wrap your head around delivering that much information in a short amount of time, and the direction is always faster. So I figured that out. And as far as being affected by, scenes or scenarios, the most difficult thing that I dealt with was, I think in the pilot as well, the garage with all the animals, the dogs. That was the most gruesome. And that was actually the one thing on the show that I really felt like they edited down. When I read these scripts, I'm like, well, there's no way that we're going to be able to necessarily do that or show that. We usually can't, but the garage was very gruesome and definitely didn't make... everything that we shot didn't make it on screen.
It's amazing what you can get away with the violence towards people, but not towards puppies.
Leave the dogs alone.
Yeah, leave the dogs alone.
You're doing a lot of the violence.
Emma actually has a lot of people do the violence for her. She doesn't get her hands dirty. It was actually an interesting experience because, obviously it's very intense to shoot the scenes where Emma's killing people, killing her mother in particular, but as an actor, I was the most affected by the hallucination scene that Jacob has, where I was in the prosthetics in the bathtub, eviscerated, and that feeling afterwards of washing the blood off, and there were intestines and things. That was the first time I went home and I had nightmares, which I'm not really sure what that says about me. That it's only when it's turned on me that I was affected.
Hi guys. I've heard it said that no one should ever grow too attached to any character on the show. And as important as integral as you guys are to the show, is there still that bit of jitteriness every time a new script gets in your hands?
Absolutely. I dread the day that we actually have a scene together, because it probably means that one of us is going to go.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. We were warned from the very beginning that I think everyone was sort of taken aside and said, listen, it's a possibility you may die this season. Don't take it personally. It's not that we don't like your work or the character, but that's the kind of show that this is. And after the first season, they lived up to their word. There's something for me that would be sort of difficult about, hearing that news, but also, again, that's the kind of story we're telling, and that's why it's the kind of show that I would like to watch. We were just talking about Game of Thrones, and it's like, the reason that I like that kind of entertainment and those kind of stories is because of the unpredictable nature. And I think that's what really grabs people about the following, and I think we'll probably continue to in season 2.
Well, and it was very dramatic, I know, for myself and Aiden Canto and Nico Tortorella, who play Paul and Jacob, because before we started shooting in New York, the second episode, our executive producer Marcos actually took us to dinner and sat us down. He's like, so, at least one of you is probably going to die. Be prepared for that. And knowing that as an actor, I mean, you always commit 100%, but it really just raises the stakes for the character and for yourself that every scene could be your last scene, every episode could be your last episode. So we're just as invested as hopefully the viewers are watching it, and it's the reason that we sort of desperately tear through scripts every time we get them and hope we're still there by the last page. Yeah.
I know for us at eTalk, this show sparks a dialogue on Tuesdays. The minute we get into the office, we want to talk about it. What's been the reaction from fans that you see on the street? Are they kind to you, Valorie, or are they really cheering for you, Shawn?
I have the conspiracy theorists that come up to me, and half of them are like, "Oh my God, we love Weston. I hope he makes it." Because I do get beat up like every other episode. I've been shot, stabbed, put in a coma. I took a severe beating this season. And then the other half of the people are convinced that I'm a follower. And it's been like that from the get-go.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
And I was kind of amazed at the beginning because we never played the character like that. We never intended for that to be the outcome. But what I say to everybody is that in the pilot, that seed of paranoia is planted. You never know who is a follower. And I think the fact that people have that feeling about Weston is just proof that the show is working and that it seeped in. It's taking root. So yeah, that's the real sort of fun that I have, is trying to convince people that I'm not a follower, or well, maybe I will be, but I don't know yet. It's one of those things.
I get pretty horrified reactions from most people on the street. I've stepped into an elevator and had a woman turn to me and say, "I want to kill you." That's right after Emma disposed of Jacob. There was a lot of vitriol on the internet. But I find myself defending her a lot and sort of making a case for why she's not the worst character on the show, right, or why she's not completely evil. Because again, I sympathize with her and I'm invested in her. But then at the same time, some people have really different reactions. Some people really do root for her, or they just want to know why.
Right.
Which is what I love. I love that everybody sort of, with this show, attaches to different characters for different reasons, and every character is so multifaceted that you can really sort of project your own suspicions or hope onto them.
Well, that's kind of what I love too. The fact that this show gives just as much time, if not more, to developing our, quote-unquote villains. And so, characters like Emma or Joe are not like these mustache-twirling villains. It's like you may not be able to understand what they're doing, but you're given a peek into who they are. And so, you may not agree with it, but at least you can start to, just see the other side of who these people are and how they've gotten to this point. That's what I love about, the cult.
I think it goes with all of the characters, with the way that the world is written, is, the lines are really blurred between the cop and the criminal and the victim and the perpetrator. And you see the human sides of these monsters. You see the monstrosity and the heroes. I mean, there's a lot to be said for who is darker, really. Ryan Hardy or Joe Caro, which is, of course, what brings them together and causes that romance.
Yes.
And with that, you must have fans or family ask you, what's happening next? What's happening next?
Yeah.
What's the answer to that? Is it simply I don't know?
Yeah.
But do you not know?
No, at this point, during the season, we have an idea of what's happening.
Right.
But honestly, unless I feel like you get the call a couple weeks ahead of time if you're going to be killed, and other than that, you might be given, if there's like a stunt you have to perform, it's like, okay, we're going to be training for something, or there's a fight sequence that I knew about because I had to start training for it. But really, we find out about the story as we shoot, essentially, which is kind of exciting. It keeps you on your toes. You certainly can't overthink a performance because of that, and it was sort of scary at the beginning, not knowing what was going to happen week to week. But for me, I sort of got into the groove of that, and also just by nature of our investigation, the FBI is sort of behind the 8 ball, anyways, and so that nature sort of like scrambling to figure out what's going on, I think, was kind of for me, I sort of used that the show. So season 2, I don't know. We'll see.
What would you like to see happen to your characters?
Well, I mean, personally, I would love the bond and the relationship and the partnership with Ryan Hardy to continue. I think when who Weston was at the beginning, this sort of like hero worshipping, green FBI agent, obviously it's the arc for Weston is like huge, and so by the end of it, I think he's finally earned Ryan's respect. So I mean, I would love for that partnership to continue. And these guys are like, this is serious business now. They're gonna do what they need to do to catch whoever's still out there, and that's what I like. And I think that's what the FBI wasn't willing to do, and why they couldn't really close out the case when they wanted to or when they should have. A lot of innocent people died because we wouldn't listen to Ryan Hardy. We wouldn't break the rules. And so I hope to see, Ryan and Weston, if that's how it goes, continue to break the rules a little bit and, do what needs to be done. Stoop to the level. I like that idea.
And as far as Emma goes, I feel like I've said that she's always sort of been defined by Joe Carroll, by who she follows, by who she's with. I mean, even her relationship with the boys in the farmhouse, she's really defined by that power structure. And I would just love for Emma to sort of find her own autonomy, find her own strength, and maybe her own motivations. And I think that there's still a lot of the character that hasn't been explored. So many of her acts, I think, have been sort of inexplicable, which is what makes them shocking and seem so cruel. That there's a lot of depth to be explored with Emma, and I would just like to see that.
The number one answer I expected was not to be dead.
Well, that's a given.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Valorie.